WLNS is here for you with 6 News at 11.
A new documentary provides a personal look at a difficult part of Livingston County's history, connections to the Ku Klux Klan. It is our top story tonight at 11. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones. Siobhan is off tonight. The film is called Faces of Hate, and it premiered tonight at the historic Howell Theater. Howell and Livingston County as a whole have historic links to the KKK. Zena Isa was there and spoke to the filmmakers.
Sherry, the film follows the story of Jason Barker, a former extremist convicted in 2001 for assault and ethnic intimidation against a black man in Brighton, Michigan. Danish journalist Stefan Hu was writing a book about hate in America when he came across Barker and decided to make him the subject of this film. The documentary was filmed over nearly a decade, including Barker's time behind bars, and details his journey from hate to redemption as he uncovers how his extremist views stem from a troubled childhood. Hu hopes the film will provide a new perspective to those with a narrow outlook on diversity.
In the film, you can actually see a physical change in him, and for the better, obviously. But you will see something at the beginning that is, frankly, a little bit scary, and by the end, there's this incredible, loving human being that looks happy and healthy.
You know, despite what people might be saying in terms of media or the government, there really is a problem here in terms of racism and, white supremacy in general, and that is something that hopefully this film will help individuals see.
The premiere tonight included armed guards at the front of the theater in case of backlash against the film. The documentary is available to view on Amazon Prime and Roku. Back to you.
Thank you, Zena. And reportedly, those armed guards may have been important. The Livingston Post reports a group of 7 to 10 young men dressed in black and waving swastika flags gathered across the street from the Howell Theater. They shouted back and forth with people attending the screening, but there are no reports of any violence. This is the third time in the past 6 months groups with Nazi flags have demonstrated in Livingston County. Well, the National Collegiate Athletic Association has updated its policy for transgender student athletes to reflect the new executive order from President Donald Trump. The new policy bans transgender athletes from competing in women's sports specifically. They can still practice with women's sports team and receive normal benefits like medical care. That ban also applies to women athletes who are receiving hormone therapies like testosterone, even if they are not transgender. Trans athletes are still allowed to compete with male sports teams. NCAA President Charlie Baker testified for the Senate back in December that of the 500,000 athletes in this association, he was aware of fewer than a dozen transgender athletes. Well, Speaker Matt Hall also introduced a House resolution today that would effectively block state funding for sanctuary cities. It would not change actual state law. Instead, it would change the rules for the state House, preventing any vote on any spending bill that would provide any funding for local government unless it submits a letter to the House explaining its immigration policies and promising to comply with federal immigration officials. The resolution was sent to the State House Committee on Government Operations, but House leaders immediately ordered the committee to send it back to the full House because it is a resolution and not an actual bill. Now, this legislation only needs to clear the GOP-controlled state House and will not go to the Democrat-controlled state Senate. President Donald Trump announced plans for a new task force today that will end what he calls the war on Christians. Raquel Martin has the details on the faith office that he has planned for the White House.
President Donald Trump is answering the prayers of his loyal base of Christian supporters.
We have to bring religion back.
Thursday, the president announced an executive order to create a faith office at the White House and launch a task force to eradicate anti-Christian bias across the federal government.
In the White House, we will protect Christians in our schools, in our military, in our government, in our workplaces.
The president is tasking his newly sworn-in Attorney General Pam Bondi to lead the task force. The announcement, made at the annual National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, follows the president's pardoning of nearly 24 Christian activists. They were convicted for blocking entrances to abortion clinics under the Biden Justice Department.
The persecution has been just horrible.
Democratic Congressman Andre Carson prayed ahead of the president's remarks at the Capitol.
It's an honor to be the first Muslim member of Congress to pray.
He's hopeful the order promotes all faiths.
Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, or non-faith systems. We want to make sure that people are protected in the process.
Chris Line, a lawyer with the Freedom from Religion Foundation, is less optimistic.
Very concerning. This is Christian nationalism. This is Project 2025.
And expects a busy few years in court protecting LGBTQ Americans or other minority faith groups.
That's what we stand for. We work to protect the separation of church and state. We believe the government should be neutral.
In Washington, Raquel Martin.
Helping victims of crimes know their rights. That's the goal of a new website launched today by Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel. The new Crime Victims' Rights website includes links to statewide resources, information on crime victim compensation, guidance for navigating victim advocate services, and overviews of the legal process so that victims know what to expect during misdemeanor and felony cases. You can find a link to this page on our website, WLNS.com. Well, Jackson Police Chief Elmer Hitt plans to retire later this month, and next week his replacement will be sworn in. Christopher Simpson is currently the undersheriff of Jackson County. He previously served with the Jackson Police for 25 years before retiring as a lieutenant and division commander back in 2017. He says he's always wanted to be chief of police for Jackson, and he looks forward to returning to the department. Elmer Hitt's last day as police chief will be Friday, February 21st.
From Storm Tracker 6, this is Weather First, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance. Simple human sense.
Our cold front moving through tonight, certainly producing some gusty winds out there. The good news is it won't stick around very long. A look at precision cast wind gusts over the next hour or so, still 30 to 40, maybe a few over 40 mile per hour gusts. But then by tomorrow morning, notice wind gusts only 10 to 20. Now at times tomorrow the winds will kick up a bit, 50 to 25, but by 6 o'clock you can see the winds, how they continue to drop. A look at the satellite and radar tonight. Cold front moving through with a few snow flurries, especially off to our north. Not going to cause any travel issues for us though through tomorrow morning. So quiet weather at 7 o'clock. Moving through the afternoon hours, still pretty quiet, kind of a mix of clouds and mostly cloudy skies. Hopefully we'll get a little sunshine out there. Our attention turns to the weekend though, and what will this storm system do? There's two pieces of this storm. One is to the north, that's the upper level system. One is to the south. These two at times have looked like they were going to try to link up and produce some widespread, brief, heavy snowfall, but it's looking more like they may remain a little separate. But I still question whether or not this other area of snow to the south will begin to move through southern mid-Michigan and the northern section, probably Lansing maybe a little bit north. So there's going to be some areas of mid-Michigan that see several inches of snow on Saturday, and others maybe across central mid-Michigan get very little snow. So stay tuned, a lot can change, and it could be one that you end up having to shovel. The odds of at least 2 inches, notice Saturday into early Sunday morning, that's the time frame to watch. So I feel pretty good that we're going to see a couple inches of snow, just a matter of if it's going to be the kind that really snarls traffic or if it's just more of a nuisance type snow like what we've dealt with a lot this winter. Temperatures currently upper 20s and low 30s, not too terribly cold so far, but boy is it windy out there as the colder air is moving in. Our wind gusts on the McLaren Cam at 34 miles per hour, temperature now down to 30. In Grand Ledge, winds have been quite gusty as well, a 42 mile per hour wind gust. Current temperature now has fallen down to 29 degrees after a high of 35. Jackson Cam, we're kind of awaiting some of those winds. Are just starting to move in. The max wind so far 33 miles per hour, temperature at 32. And finally in Hillsdale tonight, temperatures at 31 degrees. Pretty impressive, 41 mile per hour wind gust. Morning low was 24 and our afternoon high right around the freezing mark at 32 degrees. Checking out the forecast for tonight, low temperature should drop to around 17 degrees. It'll be windy for the next few hours and then winds will subside a bit by early tomorrow morning. As we head into your Friday, mix of clouds and sunshine. Temperatures cold near 26 degrees. Average high is right around 31, so we're not too far from that. The 6-day forecast, Saturday chance of afternoon snow, temps in the upper 20s. We remain in the 20s most of next week with a few snow showers Wednesday and possibly Thursday. And then next weekend, there could be a system in the region which could produce a wintry mix with temperatures in the 30s.
But you haven't talked a lot about wind chills lately, so that's good news.
Yeah, and I mean, tonight's probably the worst of it, wind chills in the teens. And
Right.
then tomorrow, it's colder, but less wind.
All right. We'll take that.
Yeah.
Thanks, David. Coming up on 6 News at 11, federal courts have hit the brakes on some of President Trump's biggest executive orders. We'll have the latest on those cases next. That and much more straight ahead on 6 News at 11.